Hey everybody, it's Sensei AJ here from Megami Dojo in New York City. And in this video today, we're going to be unboxing a number of Flesheaters, which are custom knives developed by U.S. Marine Corps retired Master Sergeant AJ Advincula and produced by custom knife maker Jim Hammond. I'm joined today by my student of 2 years, Zach Levine, who has himself ordered a Flesheater, the Flesheater 8 Utility Tactical Bolo. And I ordered 4 Flesheaters, which are designed as collector grade, intended to be thought of as a set. I'm not going to go into all the details of the Flesheater design today. I will go through some of them, as you'll see some common aspects in each of the Flesheaters that we unopened today. So that being said, Zach is going to start by opening his Flesheater UTAC Bolo. And as he's doing that, I'm going to read some notes that were sent to me by Jim Hammond, as well as some history behind the Flesheater. So Zach, if you want to go ahead. To those who are already in the knife collection community, Jim Hammond really needs no introduction. He's been in the tactical knife business for, I think, close to 50 years now. As of the recording in this video, I could be a little bit off. Sensei Advincula had a student in the early 1990s or late 1980s, came up to him and asked him, if you were to produce the perfect combat military knife, how would you design that knife? And that's how the Flesheater was born. I believe the first Flesheater was actually produced by Jim Hammond in 1992. And Jim Hammond, he got into this because that one student was friends with Jim Hammond, so he made the introduction between Jim Hammond and AJ Advincula. The Flesheater has a number of aspects which we'll go through in a moment. We're going to change the camera angle and get close in, and I'll explain some of those features of the Flesheater. I asked Jim Hammond via email if he had any words that he wanted to add to this unboxing video, and he says the following. Much of what I said about the Seal Tac in the 80s, as far as its tactical aspects and diverse usage with special ops personnel, merely began the lineage that the Flesheater line expanded upon with Sensei Advincula in the early 1990s. The Flesheaters were simply the next stage in the design evolutions in my line and were, to me, a more highly refined series, having been based upon a much broader range of design and application criteria that Sensei brought to the table with his background both in the military and the martial arts. One cool story you might use is not on the website anywhere, and I'm going to redact the name. He gave me the name of this high-ranking government official. I will redact that name for purposes of this video. One cool story you might use that's not on the website anywhere is that one of the SEALs from Team 2, who served as this government official's bodyguard for 2 years, carried an original Flesheater in his pants across the small of his back and a special painted carry sheath that we developed. Okay. With the Flesheater, I believe there are somewhere between 13 and 15 designs of Flesheater that range in different sizes. As an example, this is the original Flesheater. The blade itself, I believe, is 9 inches in length. Don't quote me on that. We can look up later on Jim Hammond's website. He has the specifications for each knife. This is the military Bolo as another example. This is much larger. I think this is an 11-inch blade, and he has other designs as well. We're about to open up Zach's Flesheater here, which is the UTAC Bolo, and I believe that's maybe 12 inches long. But again, I'll look up the exact specifications on the website, and I'll put that in the description below. Okay, so Zach is just about done here opening the blade, and you'll see that he put a little cork at the top. Okay, and we're just going to keep this here so that you can put it back in the paper. Well, you can hold it up, so I'm not going to hold your knife for you. Zach's going to show his knife to the camera. We're going to take an on-top peek in just a few moments as well. Don't touch the blade. Yeah. It's sharp, okay?
Yeah. Oh, right, I forgot about that, yeah.
Okay, so this is the Flesheater UTAC Bolo. Try to hold it sideways. I'll let you see what the angle looks like here. Okay, so you see how shiny it is? And here are the specifications that Jim Hammond had sent to Zach. And this is quoted from Jim Hammond's email. This is the 3rd generation Bolo design called the FE8 UTAC Bolo. UTAC means Utility Tactical. This model took the best elements from the first 2 Bolos Sensei Advincula and I developed together and combined them into one. Blade length is 12.5 inches and is 17.125 inches overall. The steel is 1/4 inch stock CPM S35 VN stainless, which I no longer make available except on special order. The hollow ground bevels have a micro glass bead blast finish, and the flats and blade perimeter have a contrasting hand-rubbed satin finish. The handle scales are presentation grade desert ironwood and are mirror finished with a hand-rubbed satin finish around the handle perimeter. The sheath is a right-handed detachable pivot ring drop leg design. Okay, so you can put that down. Let's just show the sheath so we can explain what he means by that drop leg design. So when we talk about drop leg design, what Jim Hammond means, I'm not wearing a belt today, but what he means is that you can put your belt through this loop and have this hanging off the side of your belt when you're walking around. So for example, if you live in places where open carry knife is acceptable, maybe you're out in the woods. I know that Jim Hammond has a number of special ops personnel who buy his weapons, and they're in a position where they want to be carrying weapons, for example, outside on the belt. Certainly those who might be hunters in places, such as Wyoming or Alabama, and folks who might be camping, this is a great option, in my opinion, in terms of a sheath design for something to just hang off your belt. So that being said, Zach, you have any comments or questions about your knife?
No questions, but it is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, we're going to zoom in just a few moments from the top angle so we can look closely at the design of the wood on the handle. Again, this is a desert ironwood handle that he has. May I?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this bolo is designed for hacking. The bolo in the Philippines was really designed for cutting through brush in the jungle. So when you hold this UTAC bolo, like I can feel the weight difference in this versus, for example, this is what we call the military bolo, and this was designed more for combat. Sensei Advincula was stationed in the Philippines in the early 1960s, and he had a bolo that was approximately this length. And so he designed this thinking about that bolo when he designed this in the somewhere between the mid-90s to 2000s. And this, you can feel the difference. I mean, you can try this too. You feel the difference holding this light military bolo versus the heavy UTAC bolo, which again is designed specifically for hacking through brush in the jungle. So my wife is filming here in the background as our cameraman, and she asked Zach the question, what made you decide to buy a Flesheater? Zach is relatively new to studying Eskrima with me. He's been primarily studying Ishinryu karate for the last couple of years, and I introduced him to the Flesheaters. And so go ahead, tell your story, Zach.
Yeah, so for one, I was interested in Eskrima just as one of the other options for what to study. And I've owned knives before. I've owned smaller knives, well, not that there's many knives bigger than that sort of thing, but yeah, so it's just, I wanted to get something that was a little bit more handcrafted, a little bit more just piece of art kind of craftsmanship item. And Jim Hammond showed me this, and it was just utterly gorgeous. And so I decided, you know what, that looks like a pretty good match. It looks, the size, the form and function, beauty of it definitely spoke to me. So decided, why not?
Great. Okay. So thank you for sharing that, Zach. This weapon is actually not one of the collector grades I had mentioned earlier. I'm trying to get this out of the sunlight here. This one is the Flesheater 10. Okay, we're also going to zoom into this in a moment. This Flesheater 10 is one of the small knives. You see it fits into the palm of my hand. This one I actually sent back to him for some modification. So he made a modification for me. So again, this is not part of the set I'd spoken about. This is actually I believe it's a mirror finished linen micarta handle. And so we'll just keep this over here. This next weapon is a collector grade version of the FE10. And this is, I will read all the specifications in just a moment for these knives. Okay, you can see them both together. All right, well again, we're gonna zoom in just a few moments. Let me read the specifications to you. Presentation grade Honduras rosewood handles, CPM 154 cm steel, mirror finished blade bevels, hand rubbed blended satin finish on ricasso, tapered flats and blade perimeter, mirror finished scales and scale faces, hand rubbed satin handle perimeter, leather sheaths designed for under the belt carry as I demonstrate in occasional YouTube shorts. I meaning me. You may have seen some shorts I do with Zach as my uki, and I might pull a weapon from my belt. Okay, the next coming up is the FE9. All right, so you compare this. This one's a little bit larger than the FE10 that we just pulled out, and we're going to compare them on the table in just a moment. But this is what the FE9 looks like. And the next one is nicknamed the Runt, and I believe this one is actually the FE7. They gave a number to all of them, and then some of them got a nickname too. So for example, the bolo that Zach just unboxed, that's called the UTAC Bolo, but the number was number 8. And then I showed this military Bolo earlier. I believe this is a number 6, if I'm not mistaken. The original Flesheater, which I pulled out earlier. This is the number 1, the original. All right, so this one is called the Runt. Actually, the handle is much larger than I expected. I've never held a Runt before in my hand. I've never seen it or anything. So this Runt is quite a bit larger than I expected. Again, because these ones are a little bit smaller, it's a little bit harder, I think, to appreciate the wood, especially, you know, from so far away. But this one, I mean, I don't know what you think. I think
looks gorgeous.
This is quite a beautiful handle. It's interesting, unless you know the difference between rosewood burl and desert ironwood, because Zach's is desert ironwood. When we zoom in just a few moments, it's hard to tell. If I didn't know the difference, which I don't, right? I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the desert ironwood and the rosewood burl. Honduras rosewood, excuse me. Okay, this last one here is the FE13, and this is intended to be held with 2 fingers. Or let me rephrase that. It's got what we call the two finger grooves. All right, this one's ultra small. I mean, you look at this, and if you can see on camera, I don't get the full grip in my hand. So this is an ultra small blade. Obviously, right, doesn't fit in my hand. You compare that to, this was the FE10 I was holding. All right, the FE10, you get the full blade in there, and especially if you're holding the Bolo, you'll notice when I hold this, right, you get a little bit of the handle sticking out. Okay, we don't want too much sticking out. In some Eskrima styles, they like to do that, but the problem is you expose yourself to a disarm. In Advincula style, in Advincula combat Eskrima, we like to have a little bit here, so you can have the advantages of a little piece sticking out here, but without the disadvantages. Zach and I tried to record this the other day, this close-up, and you can see the mirror reflection, the mirror finishing on these blades is just so sharp. You can see Zach's face reflecting in these blades on camera, actually, which is kind of cool. So I've actually never gotten mirror finishes on my blades in the past, but I did for these collector-grade weapons here. Now, Zach, I know I mentioned earlier on film what the reflection is, or what the finish is on the Bolo. Do you remember offhand what it is?
I think the satin rubbed flats, and then I think bead blasted, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember 100% off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Well, I put it in the caption earlier, and so when we look at this, I mean, you see just how much that reflects the light. And if you look at my other Bolos, my other blades, my other Flesheaters, they don't have this super reflective finish on it. And so look at this. You can see the handles of the other knives. If you look at the top of this Bolo over here, you can see the finish. Sorry, the handles of the other Flesheaters. So that's incredible. And you can see the size of this. I mean, I put the size up on the screen earlier, but this really is like the size of my hand when you look at the handle. All right, and that's about, I think this is about 16 inches long. In the caption, I put the size of the weapons, all of the weapons. Earlier, I made a mention about the Flesheater Runt, and I said the handle's bigger than I expected, and there's a reason for that. I just didn't do my homework ahead of time. So the Flesheater Runt actually is supposed to be a small blade with the same handle of the original Flesheater, and that's why this seems so large. All right, and then we have, this one was the Flesheater 9. This is the one of the small flesh, all 3 of these are small Flesheaters, obviously, okay? And when I hold this one, you see the size of the handle just kind of fits in my palm perfectly. You can see that. This is the Flesheater 10. And look at that beautiful reflection on the steel. It's unreal. Unreal how shiny these are. Can you see Zach's face? I'm trying to get Zach's face. Look, you can see Zach's face in there. Look how beautiful that is. All right. And then finally we have the Flesheater 13. And this one, again, this is the 2 finger. So when you look at this, it actually doesn't fit fully into the palm of my hand. And that's intentional. It's intended to be a small weapon. One more time, all of these blades that, I put in the caption what the specs are on all these blades. One more thing I forgot to mention, actually. These say BG42 steel on them. And I sent a note to Jim Hammond, and what he told me was that as a change that had happened where he prefers to buy BG42 steel over, I think it's called CPM 154CM, and he said BG42 is a little bit more rare, but the edge retention is quite a bit better on it. So as a favor to me, he switched that, and then he forgot to switch the invoice. But that's actually marked on all these knives, is that they're actually BG42 steel. I think those are the things I intended to remark on that I maybe made a mistake on earlier. Zach, any questions, comments?
No, I mean, they are all absolutely gorgeous. The handle and the wood used is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I wish I could show in greater detail on camera. The thing is, I'm not a professional cameraman or editor by any stretch, and my wife's not here to do the recording, but even she's not a professional either. And you just look at the quality of the wood on these handles, it's unreal, honestly. Yeah. One thing that I really appreciate about Jim Hammond, and I told him this via email when I asked him to clarify the steel choice, he was telling me that, he made the choice and he kind of made an executive decision for me. And one thing customers of Jim Hammond recognize is that he always has his customers' goals in mind when he chooses to. Sometimes he has to make a decision. I was actually traveling on safari in Tanzania and I had no signal, and he tried messaging me, and I actually happened to have signal that one day when he messaged me, and I said, you know what, Jim, do what you think is going to be best for the night. Look at the angle here. The lighting's pretty good right at this moment. And you look at the color of the wood and the design on the wood there. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit if I can get this closer to the camera, because I don't want it to go out of focus, but look at the quality on the wood there. That's just unbelievable. And same thing for the Flesheater Runt. But I was saying for Jim Hammond, he just always has his customers in mind, and he's never going to shortcut to give you a low quality product. He really cares a lot about the quality of the knives that he gives to his customers, and it tells. And for those of you who have spoken to him, you certainly have seen that. And Zach, I know you're a new customer of his, but you really felt like he cared when he sent you these emails. So I'm not a big knife collector. I've really only ever collected Flesheaters, and the custom Flesheaters designed by Jim Hammond. I know there were some factory made ones several years ago out of Columbia River, but I've only ever gotten the custom designed Flesheaters from Jim Hammond, and I've never been disappointed. And I have a number of these knives now. We saw a couple others last week when we recorded the first session of this. So that's really all the commentary I have. Zach, any questions, comments?
No. I mean,
but you're happy with your purchase, it seems like.
Oh, very, yes.
Great. So again, the reason these are so important to us at the dojo is because we're studying Advincula's combat eskrima, and this is the weapon of Advincula's combat eskrima, right? This is what was designed by Sensei Advincula in concert with Jim Hammond. This is really part of our lineage, certainly for those in the dojo and Megami Dojo here in New York, but also those nationwide and worldwide who study Advincula's combat eskrima. This is really critical, and this is setting the foundation for many generations to come of those who study these styles, or this style of eskrima. So it certainly is really important to this dojo, where we care a lot about lineage and tradition. It's very important to us that we have these to preserve for future generations who want to study Advincula eskrima. And if you're in the New York area and you want to consider coming in for lessons, we teach eskrima as well as Ishindu karate and Hindyandi gung fu, all styles that were taught by AJ Advincula. And furthermore, online karate lessons. I don't teach eskrima online, but folks who might be interested in online Ishindu lessons, I do teach those as well. And private lessons for those who are in New York. If you're just traveling and you wanna drop by the dojo, or maybe talk about stopping in for a private lesson, certainly I encourage you to reach out.